Old Trafford, Manchester United, you've just mentioned it. So Jim Ratcliffe, first time he was present in the stadium, a Manchester United team that's still looking for that consistency against the Spurs team. They had one or two players back, Van der Ven back in the starting lineup, Romero in the starting lineup, and Timo Werner made his first start for Spurs on the left-hand side. I'll let you start, mate. Give me an overview of the game. Was the draw about the right result? Who will feel slightly better for a 2-2 draw?
Well, actually, I think Man United will feel a little bit better. I think if you look at the game and actually look at all the stats and all the shots and the shots on target and the possession and everything else, expected goals are all favoured Tottenham Hotspur. Now, I think it's certainly, I think, accurate to say that they're really lacking their normal punch up front. Spurs with the players that they've got missing now. I think it's pretty obvious. Kulusevski expected to play. I think he went down late with an illness, Rob. They didn't have Maddison, of course, as normal, and Heung-min Son. So they missed most of their main guys up front. But I just thought they looked the better side. Now, of course, like you guys talked about it in the studio about the pattern of the game, and I think it kind of turned out how we all expected it to, Rob. And some may say 2-2's a fair scoreline. Very much. Proactive team against a reactive team. You talked about it. We've talked about it many times. I mean, I'll go kind of towards my main kind of thought, really, Rob. And I know Sir Jim Ratcliffe was there, and I know some players are coming back now for Erik ten Hag. I just looked at it, Rob, in the second half, the middle of the second half. I think the commentators, of course, Graham and Peter were on it. Or John Champion, was on it. And they were saying how flat it was. I saw a Man United performance that was behind the ball, sitting deep, allowing Spurs to have possession, not being very good, and this is throughout the game, by the way, winning the ball back, Man United. They're not very good at that. And I just thought, Rob, this is not Man United. This isn't Man United sitting at Old Trafford against a weakened Spurs side to sit back and play on the counter-attack. And, his comments afterwards about that's kind of what the players we have. I'm just not sure I'm having it, mate. And, there's going to be new investment, new directors, new structure on the football side. I mean, surely they've got to be putting out a blueprint or a mission statement, whatever you want to say, that Man United, let's get back to what Man United is. Now, of course, I understand that's going to take a little bit of time, but no ball, no atmosphere, not a lot of inspiration, a couple of moments on a counter-attack, again, from players that can do that, and Rashford and Rasmus Højlund, and it's particularly good for Højlund, I think, to score again. But my main thought, Rob, was that this isn't really what Man United is all about.
It's an interesting point, and it's definitely the road I want to go down, because I'm not sure at the end of Goals, Rebecca, me and Tim just had quite an interesting conversation. It came out of Ten Hag's interview at the end, and the reporter was asking him, about the style and what he's looking for. So we'll get to that in a minute, Rob, but I just want to go back to something you said when you used the phrase, "This isn't Man United." What isn't? Or what isn't? I mean, are we still historically going... Are we talking now about going historically back 10 years to the Ferguson era to say this is Man United? Or has there been Manchester United, iterations of Man United with the Van Gaals, with the Mourinhos, with the, others who've taken charge? Because I think that's an important point, Rob. Like, are we still making those comparisons to the Ferguson time and era, or are we moving beyond that now? Because if we're moving beyond that, I don't think we can say this is Man United. Because what have Manchester United been for the last 10 years?
Well, that's exactly right. I'd go back longer than Sir Alex Ferguson, Rob. What I mean by that is that Manchester United are an entertaining, proactive, open, attacking football club. That's what they've made. That's what they made their name in the past, from George Best to Ronaldo to Rooney to Giggs to Beckham to Scholes to everybody else.
So all the personality and character of Man United you're talking about historically through the football club. You're not just comparing an era back to the Ferguson to now kind of thing. I just want to be sure I'm totally getting you.
Well, well, from Ferguson to now has been a mismatch of all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just taking this opportunity as there's big change coming for the club to, I would think, remember what its DNA is. Remember they're good. It's a tremendously well supported club, and the atmosphere at Old Trafford is often brilliant. Their best times, Rob, are when they're on the front foot and Ryan Giggs is running down the wing, or George Best, or whoever it is in whatever kind of era. The best iteration of this football club, when the fans have enjoyed the most, and this is what it's all about, is when they are on the front foot and they're playing. They've got Cantona with it, playing the clever passes, and everybody else that they've had. I mean, I don't think it's sitting back and waiting for something to happen. They get a little sniff. I'm not a lip-reading expert, Rob, but when Rashford's off on the side of the bat, he looked miserable, as if like, what? He didn't get much kick of the ball. Don't you think then, Rob? What are you saying? Are you disagreeing with that?
No,
do you think that they should be whatever they want to be?
Absolutely not disagreeing. Actually, just wanted to clarify, what we're talking about, because we're actually going to end up in a very similar place. Though I have a slightly different view that I've kind of been thinking of for about the last half an hour. So I would agree with you, Robbie, in principle of what you're saying, and I don't think you've got on the rose-tinted Man United glasses on when you talk about the DNA and the history of the club and what they're about. What I would say, Rob, and it's becoming more and more my thought, and it sparked when I was listening to Ten Hag after the game, is this group of players are better than what we see. Now, Casemiro might come back. Martinez is back. Mason Mount gets back in the team. I'm not sure who else is missing who would be a start. Luke Shaw comes into the team. Let's just, we're back to something like, most people available and getting back to somewhere near full strength. I still do not think that this manager will play the DNA style of football that you're talking about historically has been played at Manchester United. Rebecca asked me today, can those players play that style? And I said, in my opinion, with the right coaching and tactical experience, I think they can. But I do not believe, I'm coming to the position where I don't think this manager can. Now, I'm not going to say Ten Hag's not going to continue in the job. I'm not going to say Ten Hag can't be successful. But Ten Hag cannot be successful playing how Man City play, how Liverpool play, how Spurs play, how Brighton play, how Villa play. That is not what Manchester United are going to be successful with. They could become a really good counter-attack team, sort of semi on the David Moyes West Ham kind of. At times we'll get back and have a good structure, and then I'll get it to my players who can make things happen, and we'll evolve into that. Which I'm not saying is what it should happen. I'm saying what I think will happen if this guy stays in charge. I don't think he is capable of playing the open, expansive style of football.
Yeah, but he has, Rob. That's what we thought we were getting with him. That's what he did at Ajax. That's what he did.
Ajax in the Dutch League and Manchester United in the Premier League are two very different projects, mate.
But surely that points to his philosophy. But it points to his philosophy, Rob, doesn't it?
But surely, Rob, you've got to trust Rafael Varane that he can make right decisions on the ball. Johnny Evans is 36 years of age. You've got to trust Christian Eriksen that he can keep the ball. You've got to trust Bruno Fernandes that when I get it into him, he can turn in between the lines. So you're telling me that he doesn't trust this group of international players, Darlow and players who play, he doesn't trust them enough to play the kind of football. So it's only going to happen when Casemiro was back. Casemiro was having a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically saying, Rob, he said it a few times now, that with this group, he doesn't think they can play that way.
Yeah, I know.
What's kind of strange about that, he bought the majority of the team.
And I disagree.
So that's where I don't think it adds up.
I think if you put Roberto De Zerbi with that group of players between now and the end of the season, you'd see a lot of different things happening.
Yeah.
Because it's like Steven Gerrard with the Villa players before Unai Emery. What we're seeing with Unai Emery now, you would never have thought those same players could do, but a different manager with a different structure and a different way of working has built away. This guy has still got enough quality in this team to play how Aston Villa play.
So you're pointing your finger at him then, Rob?
The more and more I think about it, and then listening to his interview today, when he said this group of players can't do that. I mean, they're not that bad, Rob. We're not just come out the championship, and we're coming. I mean, they're international top players.
Yeah, but when you said earlier that they can find a way with this counter-attacking to be successful.
Yeah.
What do you, so
I'm saying that
clarify. What do you mean?
Okay, so if we're not going to be expansive front foot, Spurs would be a great contrast. So we're going to get our fullbacks high, we're going to press high, we're going to win the ball, we're going to play a high line. If that's not what he thinks they can do, then he has to say to that team, you know what, we'll go to a mid-block. We're going to be difficult to play against. We're going to have good structure in the midfield. And then we're going to go for turnovers and set our traps. And then we're going to get it into our attacking players. Now, exactly. I see your face and I hear the puff. And I'm saying, I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm saying that's what I think we will see. That's where I think what I've seen of Ten Hag, a successful Manchester United, are going to look like.
Yeah, and I'll never change what I said a few weeks ago, Rob, on our show, is if they don't qualify for the Champions League, it's time for somebody else to have a go, and maybe even more so now when we're seeing this reactive style. And I don't know, the fans just, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe Man United fans, all they want is to win.
Yeah.
I just think with the opportunity for change, with this guy, with his structure, whether they have a total clean break in the summer, make some signings, and basically start again with a philosophy and a coach that fits that philosophy, going back to the DNA that I think the club has. That's the way forward for me.
That's a big call, though, isn't it, Rob?
Maybe
that's going to be a big call for somebody.
Yeah.
To go in that direction.
Yeah, it is going to be a big call. Yeah.
Let's just quickly talk. Let's get to a bit of detail in the game, and then I want to highlight a player who's my underappreciated performer of the week, actually, from this game. Obviously, United got off to a great start. Højlund, as you say, do him no harm goal. I thought he took it really nicely. Quick feet, lovely power, smashed into the roof of the net. And then, obviously, Spurs came back into it. Set pieces with Charlton with a header, 6-in-6 for him now. Looks a very different player, a lot more playing with a lot more confidence. Then they get ahead to Rashford, Rob, who was a threat at times when they played down that left-hand side, especially when Porro was pushing forward. And then Bex asked me again, how can Manchester United be 2-1 up, come out in the second half, and within the first minute concede? That to me is like unprofessional. That's not having your game head on. That shouldn't happen at Manchester United, because it changes the whole course of the second half. And then as Spurs had more play, you just wondered whether it looked more like whether Spurs were going to be able to get a third goal than Man United.
Yeah, and the nature of the goal, Rob. The nature of the goal is so similar to what we've seen, where teams play through, right through the centre, between the lines. And I think you said it, Rob, in maybe our last show about the pullback area.
Yeah,
I remember you saying
on the edge of the box. Yeah.
That same area almost on the line, on the 18-yard box line where the curve comes. That's where so many goals, pullbacks. And it felt like it was the same thing where Bunter goes right through a midfield player and finishes it really nicely. So the same mistakes keep happening. And, you hear him afterwards kind of happy. Like, this was a good performance. We deserve more. Well, what about the set-piece goal? And what about the awful goal to concede in the second half? So I'm getting to the point, Rob, and I don't want to keep piling on, but when I hear him in interviews, I'm not having it. I just don't... I don't believe what he's saying, because we've heard it so many times, and what we're seeing is very different to what he's saying. And I don't know whether he's trying to say the right things. But it was so easy. 2-1 up. Your tails are even a 2-2, Rob. Even when you concede that. Where was the drive? The fans were out of it, and the fans are brilliant at Old Trafford. They're some of the noisiest around, and they were out of it. I mean, it was an opportunity. Tottenham, just to chat briefly about Tottenham, I thought they did their usual possession really well, but they had no punch in attack. I thought it was a quiet one for Brennan Johnson, and Timo Werner, which we can mention now, was... I thought he was safe a little bit. He kept passing the ball backwards too many times. He had a few runs. He had a few attempts that we saw on the broadcast where he never hit the target. So he's going to take a little bit of time to get up to his best, I guess. And then we'll see whether that's good enough at the Premier League level. So the front kind of attack. The midfield was kind of similar in the players that were playing.
Yeah.
And yet they still managed to boss and had more shots and more shots on target and everything else. So they the manager, Ange Postecoglou, was thrilled after, was very happy, and rightly so. Given that there's it's a difficult game to go to Old Trafford when they're demanding a performance and victory off the side. To go there and to get the 2-2 and look strong on the team that was going to win at the end was pretty good. And I know that Scott McTominay had a header, Rob, and I don't know whether it's just a little high for him. Do you think there's a little high for him, that header?
I don't. I've got to be honest. I don't. I think he will think he should have done better. I know what you're saying, and it caught the top of his head, but it's almost like he didn't quite time his run and the jump in the right manner. Listen, who knows? But that ball for me is made for Scott McTominay, and those are the kind of situations where he can be a game changer and a game winner, and I think he should have on that occasion. So what I'm going to do, my friend, I'm going to point you to my underappreciated performer of the week, and I guarantee you there'll be nobody else in this country and many countries where our listeners all go for the same guy. And for a number of reasons, my underappreciated performer of the week is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. He's 28 years of age. He's a Danish international. He made today his fifth start for Spurs under Postecoglou. We played all games last season, number of games for under different management, but fell out of favour. Obviously, midfield that usually sees Saw and Basuma away on African Cup of Nations duty with the Maddison in and the wide players. It's not been a space for him. But I tell you what for me, Rob, is an unappreciated performer, a 28-year-old international footballer who, when asked to play, gets on with it. I thought got about the pitch and did a decent job. I think his attitude, and he's not a sulker. He's not falling out with the manager. There is talk that they might want to let him go and in the window, and we'll wait and see. But a proper professional performance from a man in the middle of the park who doesn't get a headline. Nobody will be talking about him. Doesn't score as many goals and assists, although he did get some, a few more than I thought last season. But I just thought that term, underappreciated, you need some good eggs like Højbjerg in your squad, Rob, to come in on days like today and do a job. And I thought he did that brilliantly.
Yeah, it's a good shout. It's a great shout, and it's so undervalued, the mentality of a player. When you're not playing, you can be sulky, you can look to get away, you can fall out, you don't train properly. Obviously, he keeps himself in great shape. And what a good pro, And I think similar to hopefully what we were as pros, Rob, we recognise that and we appreciate it. And when you're not flavour of the month, and he isn't at Tottenham, he's still come in there and rolls his sleeves up and grabs and has a really good game in the middle of the park. I thought Bentancur played well as well in there, as did Skip with that lovely ball in the second half. I think it's a good shout, Rob. It is a good shout, and he is underappreciated. Well, he was appreciated, I guess, under previous managers at this club. Antonio Conte loved him. He's a Mourinho type of player. But this is where the style changes. He's not quite as favoured by the current manager because of the way that he wants. And maybe it's mobility, maybe it's cleverness on the ball. I don't know. I mean, for me, Rob, he ain't far away from being in that starting 11. But he just isn't quite, given the players they've got there. So I like it. Yeah, I like it. I thought Spurs midfield worked pretty well, given the changes in there, the changes to the front line. But no, he's a top pro, and he might end up going in this month, Rob, in the window. I'm sure there's a lot of teams at that age. He's in his peak, really, with all the experience, with the mentality. He's going to be a great signing for somebody. If the club, the club might say, you know what, we need players like that. It's just whether we'll see what he wants to do. Good.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.